When you hear a real estate agent tell you it's a good time to buy, do you automatically think, oh, they're just a used car salesman, they're in it for themselves? I'm here to talk to you a little bit about the current market, the current situation, and tell you why right now is actually a good time to buy, and it could be one of your last opportunities if you want to stay in the Denver area. Stay tuned. What's up, guys? Jeremy Kane, eXp Realty, living in the Denver suburbs. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you like what you hear, give me a thumbs up. And by the end, if you still like it, throw me a subscribe. We'd be happy to reach out and help however we possibly can, working on helping everyone build wealth through real estate over here. And that's what we're going to get into today. And I've been having some conversations with top lenders in the state, even James Ryan from Real Producers Magazine. As you know or may not know, I was on the cover of that this month. And we had lunch yesterday, and we were just talking about, the climate and how it's looking and how it's, been a tough year on some people in the industry and some parts of the industry for sure. And he really was just asking, how's the market? What's going on? How do you see this playing out? And my honest answer was, I think that this is going to be the new norm. We're going to have to get used to, if we are not in the cash buyer scenario, which a lot of us are not, including myself, we're going to have to get used to higher mortgage payments if we're not into those homes. And so as things kind of trickle down, and there's two things that are coming up that I'm going to, warn you about that could even make some home owners a little bit uncomfortable, even with those super low rates. But essentially, what we're looking at is $3,500, $4,000 payments for the average house with a low down payment. So this first-time home buyers are really getting pinched. And so people always say, it's always a good time to sell because it benefits you. And that's absolutely not the case. And certainly there could be a time where, if you're uncertain about a job, or you're out of a job, or between jobs, or, you're not going to be here long term or something like that. Those are really the only situations where I could see that if it is possible to buy, that you should not consider it. I mean, if you listen to anybody talk, you don't hear a ton of people saying, you don't hear anyone saying that the price of homes is going to go down. Certainly we might see a little more of a correction, but even then we're seeing predictions of, anywhere between 5 and, 0.5% appreciation forecast for 2024. And a lot of this is based on rates. And so I want to give you a stat that I heard in our market update yesterday. Rates dropped 0.5 point last week. Going into the weekend, we saw a 2.5% increase in mortgage applications, and we saw 5% more homes go pending week over week. So what that tells me is that dip in rates, certainly 0.5 point, one of the biggest in history, etc. We needed it, trust me, had that impact on the market that quickly. Now, when you factor in where we're at in the market, where it's November, holidays are coming up, and to still see that increase when typically we start to see that traditionally taper off, is definitely something that should be eye-opening. And, going into the weekend before Thanksgiving here now, if you're watching this right when I post it, there could be even more opportunity, because we've seen even another, about 0.5 point drop. Obviously, I'm not a lender, but so we've seen a huge drop, almost a whole point in 10 days. And so that's massive for opportunity. But even still with that drop, I'm working with some buyers that have, a 10% down payment, another, buyer with 5%, and, another VA buyer. And so what we're looking at is those numbers, even with the rate increase and even with a buy down, we're seeing that number is fairly uncomfortable, and it needs to be comfortable in the end. But I think our mind needs to shift a little bit into what we're paying for housing. Right? And certainly things have gotten more expensive. The homes in Denver have gone up and appreciated, as you know, over the last 5 years, crazy amounts. But coupled with these higher interest rates, it's a tough one. So what I'm here to tell you is that working with these buyers and working in these negotiations, sellers are willing to get their home sold, offer pretty massive concessions. And so now if you're, looking at a $500,000 home in Denver, right, or a suburb, Okay, we're seeing that they're, willing to maybe go 15 to 20,000 in a concession, and that concession is bringing the rate down into the sixes. It is the prediction of all the lenders I talk to that we probably won't see 4% interest rates for a really long time, and if we see fives, they're concerned that the market will, the buyers will be absolutely flooding the market because there's all these people that have been waiting. Now, if that happens, supply and demand simple. If there's more buyers out there and they're competing, they're going to bid those prices up. So right now is kind of a sweet spot in our higher interest rate, kind of season, that if you are able to buy, you may want to do it. Because here's what I'm going to tell you next. And here's those two things that I was going to tell you. Next month, December 2023, we will start to see the actual amount that our taxes increase, our property taxes. That will eventually take effect. They're due February and June. Now, most people who have a mortgage pay those escrows, and what you will see in that sense is obviously, hey, we need to get caught up. And so when those come into fruition, almost everybody's tax bill is going to go up a little bit, even if you disputed it. But back in April and May, when we were talking about this, it was just about the value. Now they're going to couple that with the mill levy, multiply it all in, and they're going to give you the actual amount that your taxes due in 2024 for 2023 are actually going to affect you on a monthly basis. So that'll come, the escrow accounts will pay those out, and then they'll send you a letter that says, hey, your escrow account's in the negative because they haven't been saving that much unless you bought a house in the last 6 months and the lender was smart to push that forward. But you're getting that. So some payments literally might go up $500 to $1,000 depending on how much your loan is, how much your property taxes went up, and all of that. So understand that that's coming. Right behind that is now we're seeing insurance premiums go up. I've heard 33% pretty much across the board, all the way up to 50%. And so you're paying in arrears for 2023 for taxes, and now you're gonna have to pay it forward for the property insurance. So that's, on average 33% on a pretty standard policy, about $150 a month. So as you see, these things are coming, but here's the secret. All of those homes that you're renting, if you're not owning, are going to pass that tax bill on to you. It is something that is coming. All of those taxes are going up. The insurance rates on those properties are also going up. So that's where we really need to focus in and say, okay, well, if we're, our payment's going up $500 from where it's at, and we already are freaked out that it's $3,500, then we're going to start to see those rents kind of creep up into the $3,000 range for those, kind of entry level spots. And so as you kind of see that come to fruition, it's really important to understand it's not used car salesmen. This quite possibly, if you're, not comfortable with a payment over $3,500, this literally might be the last chance for you to get in the market if you don't have a good down payment. And so, or we'll go into some co-living situations and do that, which, and essentially with my conversation with James Ryan, I was just talking to him and I was like, I just think people have to realize that we are one of those cities now. We're on par. Obviously, we're not where San Francisco and LA and Boston and those rents or cost of living are, Miami, but we're getting there. And so in those places don't see those massive dips, right? It's either, hey, this apartment's $5,000 a month, you want to pay it, or do you want to rent it out to all your friends and you guys all pay, a certain portion? That's where we're at. And Denver has become one of those cities. And so we have to really be smart. And it's crazy to me, right? Because I was just looking at a house that is very similar to the house I would have looked at in a neighboring neighborhood when I purchased my house that I'm sitting in right now. And the fact that, it's $850,000, and with $100,000 down, we're looking at, a $5,500 house payment. That's absolutely wild, because that's exactly where I was. And even to this day, like I wouldn't want a $5,500 house payment. So that's where, you have to really step back and be like, okay, this is what it is, because that's the norm. And if you don't act now, it's going to continue to move up or stay at that level, right? If interest rates drop, prices are going to go up. It's going to happen. The demand's going to pick up. If the interest rates stay stagnant, we're going to see, they're high, but we're also going to see home prices kind of stay stagnant because it's going to temper the amount of people that get in the market. So, to put it lightly, if you are able to purchase a home, now may be your very last chance if you're not going to save a down payment, or you're not, interested in changing careers and leveling up your income or whatever you're going to have to do there. So, not to beat a dead horse or anything, but this is something that you need to focus on. And there's truly not a lot of people besides those groups that I mentioned before that I could say now's a terrible time to buy a house. It's just not, right? You have opportunity. Right now, between now and January 15th, I would say, you have the opportunity to at least get a rate buy down to kind of mitigate the pain of some of those rates so that your monthly payment is within reason. Now, again, if you're looking for a $1,500 monthly payment, I don't think that's happening in Colorado anytime soon, unless you have a massive amount down, and then we're speaking a whole different ballgame. So I hope this helps. Like, comment, subscribe, and if you have any questions or you want to talk smack, put it in the comments below. I'd be happy to chat with you. And if you are in that position where you're like, hey, maybe it's time, book a consult below. I would be happy to chat with you, and we'll look at your entire situation. And my promise to you is that if it is not a great time for you to buy, I will tell you. However, it's very rare that I come across that situation. So hope you have a good one. Bye-bye.